So this week is all about nourishment and nourishing ourselves. I thought it was a really good time somehow to do twisting practices leading towards backbending practices. So we're going to be doing a lot of twisting today, and I always think of twisting as like this beautiful wringing out that not only releases tension from in the body, but when it's released, it allows for this flooding in of new oxygen, new blood flow, new energy. And so we'll look forward to that. We're going to start with a little core, and then we're going to get into twists and a little bit of back bends. So join me by taking a big deep breath in, closing your eyes, and settling into your practice. I've been following this young meditation teacher lately. His name is Sam Khan. I don't know too much about him, but I really like his voice and his guidance. And he asked a question when I was following his meditation last week, and he asked it 9 times. And I liked it so much, I want to repeat it for you. And so the question is, and each time I ask the question, I want you to feel it into your body and respond to it, not vocally and not verbally, but internally. Let it just guide the next minute or so of your practice. How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel to be completely nourished? Breathe into that idea. Breathe into those feelings of the body, mind, and spirit. That idea to surround ourselves when we can with nourishing practices. We often think of nourishment as food. But nourishment can be food for the soul, food for the mind, and food for the body. So as we move into this practice today, and as we breathe here and arrive here, and I'll cue you occasionally to, as you're in a posture, to feel what it would feel like to let that posture be completely nourishing. Well, I know sometimes we take on postures that we feel like we have to do for whatever reason. And maybe there's a little discomfort or a little bit of pain or a little bit of confusion. But I want you today to really feel the nourishment of your practice. So that includes breath. Breath is a really important part of nourishing ourselves. So let's begin with a sun breath, and then we'll take it into a more vigorous breath. So hands draping down by the sides, inhaling, sweeping your arms up overhead. Take a pause and lengthen through the spine, and maybe even squeeze around the pelvic floor. And then as you exhale, release all that effort. Release your hands down to the floor. So let's go for 5 more of those. So big, beautiful inhale. Pause, hold the breath, squeeze and lift the pelvic floor. And then release everything out. and down. 4 more. Inhaling, lengthening, holding, squeezing, releasing. Inhaling, lengthening, holding, squeezing, lifting, releasing. Inhaling, lengthening, holding, lifting, squeezing, exhaling. And last one, inhaling, lifting, lengthening, lifting and squeezing, and releasing. From here, just let your hands float into prayer. And take a moment in prayer now to feel the shaping, the shape-shifting of your body, mind already. The nurturing breath. And as you're ready, make an offering for this practice today. And offer it with a bow. Inhale, come all the way back up to sitting. We'll seal that with a breath and an om together. Beautiful. Blink open your eyes, release your hands, take your legs out in front of you, your fingertips behind you. Just wiggle your legs out and then press down through your fingers. And as you let your legs drop to a close, just lift up your heart and breathe into that space of the sternum. Breathe into the external rotation of the upper arm bones. One more breath there. And then gently releasing. Come into the opposite crossing for our pranayama, which is a twisting practice. You've done this with me many times. It comes from the Kundalini tradition. This time, however, we're going to place our fingertips on the tips of our shoulders. And the elbows are going to be reaching straight out from our shoulders. And you're going to grab the front of the shoulders with the tips of the fingers and gently pull them up and over, as if you could help those shoulders lift up and draw towards each other. And then we inhale left. So I'm not mirroring you. You're going to inhale to the left and you're going to exhale to the right. And you inhale left and you exhale right. And we'll begin to speed that up so that we turn it into inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. And start to get almost like a swinging motion, but using your fingertips, I want you to draw those shoulders back a little bit so they're initiating the action. Inhale, exhale. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Come to center. Tippy tap your fingertips together like a diamond shape. Inhale deeply. Hold the breath. Squeeze and lift the pelvic floor. And then release. Beautiful. Uncross your legs. Take them in front. Give a little wiggle. Take your fingertips onto the floor behind you. Press and lift. And think of your fingertips. Now channel those fingertips that were on the tips of your shoulders there and have them lift you up. Those imaginary fingers. They lift you up and open. And maybe even imagine how that can also translate down into the hips. There's a little broadening action as you lift up through the spine. And then gently release and come back into your first crossing. We're going to take our right hand and place it on the left knee, and the left hand is behind us. so that it's out from the hip there. You're gonna use your fingers a little bit, so a little bit of strength through the fingers to increase the twist. And then you're gonna minimize the fingers. You could even lift them off their, whatever they're touching, and use your abdominals to increase the twist. Then release the hands down, increase the twist a little, just a little bit, and then release those hands and increase the twist with your own muscular action. We got one more of those. The hands can drop back down again, and we gently increase the twist, and then we lift the hands and we use your abdominals to increase the twist. Inhale to come out of the pose. Take a cleansing breath. You can roll your shoulders here. So let's try that second side. So you're gonna bring your left hand to your fingertip, to your knee tip, and your right hand behind you by the hip. And then using your fingertips, just very gently increase the twist. Then release the fingertips and use your own muscle energy. And then fingertips down and they increase the twist. And then release them up and use your abdominals. And then fingertips and release and twist. Beautiful. Come out of that pose. Roll the shoulders. Cleansing breath. One more reaching out of those legs, so we can do one more crossing. Shake them out. Fingertips on the floor behind you. Press down. Activate your feet. Lift up. Think baby fish. So think drawing the spine in and up to the chest. And then release that. Come back to your alternate crossing. This time you're going to take your right hand to your left knee, and then you're just going to drape that hand down. You can use your other hand, maybe even that hand reaches the floor, and you start to think cat tilt. So you're just going to roll over into the spine, so the spine makes a little cat shape, and like you're almost wanting to touch your nose to your knee. And the right hand is reaching beyond you here. And then see if you can twist the inner belly and right rib to the right. And even your face will look over to the right. You just give this nice little twisting. And then as your last breath comes in, exhale and cat tilt. And then inhale, come on up. Take a cleansing breath. Roll the shoulders. Second side. So we take left hand to the knee. Inhale, lengthen. As we exhale, that hand can drape off the knee to the floor. The other hand can migrate forward. And we begin to draw the knee down, or the nose to the knee. You keep letting the left arm extend. And then finally, draw the belly in and up and try to twist it to the left. Bring the left ribs up in space. You can even look to the left a little bit. And then as your last exhale, you're going to cat tilt. So inhale, exhale. And then inhale, come back together. Beautiful. We're going to come off of our blocks onto our backs. We'll begin with abdominal bracing and a couple other little fun and amazing core activities. I'm going to set my watch as you make yourself comfortable in Setu Bandha preparation. So knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor, and you're resting on your spine. Arms are out in T for the first few moments of arriving to feel your left hip, your right hip, your left shoulder, and your right shoulder. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, you're going to actually reach your hands through your legs here, and you're going to imagine that you could use your upper abdominals and your mid-abdominals around the ribs to lift the back shoulder blades off the mat. But at the same time, I want you to plant the ribs down. So you're trying to curl and plant. Curl and plant. Curl, reach and plant. One more. And then release that down. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. Let's try that again. Some of these things get easier with time as the body wakes up and starts to become more mobile. reaching through the legs, you try to accentuate the upper abs, that's ribs and sternum. And as you reach up and try to lift shoulder blades off the mat, you try to put the back ribs down. Keep breathing. Keep reaching. One more breath. And release. Let your hands come out in T. Take a cleansing breath, inflating the belly. Maybe even letting yourself go into a little bit of a cow tilt. And then exhale, release that all out. Here we go with abdominal bracing, bringing your knees up towards your chest. Your legs are at a right angle. Your hands begin to press your knees there, and your knees press back. The hands traction, fingertips traction into the sky, and you pull belly, ribs, and sternum down. Here we go. Make sure that you do it with enough effort that you begin to tremble. So I'll keep talking you through the actions. It's press, press, traction, and pull. So take yourself through that little saying, press and press back, traction and pull. And keep rehearsing that so that you keep teaching the body what you want it to do. It'll go to sleep if you let it. It'll space out. So press, press, traction, and pull. And though this may not feel like a nourishing practice, it is in the long run, creating this strong core so that you can always know how to bring that into action. Beautiful. Release the effort. Keep your hands on your knees and start to roll your legs in a circle, opposing each other. And then go the other way. Beautiful. And then come up to your traction, but this time you're going to take your left hand and put it on your right knee, and your right hand is going to come behind your head. And as we do our push-push, traction, and pull, we're in a little cross diagonal. So extend your left leg out. Here we go, curling up, push-push, traction, and pull. Trying to get that little twist in the abdominals. Keep breathing. One more breath. Push, push, traction, and pull. And then release, and go ahead right away. Switch sides. So right hand to left knee, left hand behind the head. Extend right leg. Lifting up in a twist. Press, 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 traction, pull. One more breath. You're doing great. Beautiful. Release that out. Hug the knees deeply into the chest. Curl the forehead to the knees. And make a little teeny ball here. And see if you can lift up your tailbone. And see if you can lift the shoulder blades off the mat. And see if you can meet forehead to knees. Last breath. And gently release feet to the floor. We've got one more. And all of this will really help us with our twist because we're activating lower, middle, and upper core. So this one, you take your hands and you just place them on the side of your head. So it could be around your ears, around the straight side of the head. And the elbows are out, and we're going to do roundabouts. So you lift up and you do a circle with your upper abdominals. So you're trying to lift those shoulder blades off the mat. And you're not trying to jam the chin into the chest, but you're really using the abdominals to lift you up. And go the other way. Use your breath. Last round. Beautiful. Release it on down. Keep your hands behind your head. Squeeze the thumb side of the hand into the occiput. Lift your head off maybe just a half of an inch and lengthen the back of the neck so that you feel the chin drop in a little bit. Take one more breath here, squeezing and lengthening. Maybe even noticing if one side of the neck feels longer than the other or just more open. Beautiful. And release. Good. We're going to start to roll. So you can start by just kicking your legs up into the sky and trying to lift your tailbone, curling it underneath you. As you feel ready and as the back warms up, then you're going to try to roll. You're going to try to roll all the way up to sitting, maybe even trying to stick a Navasana. One more breath there. Then the right ankle goes over the left ankle. You walk the hips back behind you. So it's like you just kind of sneak them out behind you. And then you move forward, you reach forward as far as you can. Feeling that stretch. We're not rounding over. We're just really reaching long through the spine. Good. And then begin again. You're going to roll down onto your back. You can go slowly if you'd like. And you try to do your rocking. And again, you can just start, or maybe that's enough for you to try to just lift your hips up off the mat. But if you can take that into a full roll, and maybe even stick Navasana, it's worth a try. Sometimes it gets better on the second try. And you breathe, and you smile, because you did your best, whatever you did. And then you cross your left ankle over your right ankle. You kind of sneak those hips back and apart, and then reach forward. I'm karate chopping my feet, so I'm protecting my knees, and I just keep reaching as if someone is pulling me out from my center. One more breath. Oh, beautiful. Release. Come on and bring your knees underneath you for Vajrasana while we open up our wrists a little in preparation for some tabletop and some downward facing dog. So I'm going to start with my toes tucked under. That's yogi's choice if that's not comfortable for you. But we'll start with our begging pose. So we'll have our hands out in front of us. It's like we're trying to reach our fingertips to our own inner wrist to take our own pulse. And we just breathe and squeeze. Breathe and squeeze. Each time I want you to get a centimeter closer to those wrists, inner wrists. Breathe and squeeze. Last one. Breathe and squeeze. We're going to reach or release that out and just shake them around. And then we're going to take the hands behind them, so turning so that the fingertips are pointing to the knees. And just take a moment to stretch the hands out here. And you could do a little rocking if you want, back and forth, just so you feel that nice stretch through the center of the hands. I want you to start to engage your hands here. So you're always better off when you engage muscles that are stretching. It's just super healthy. Okay, we're going to sit on back in Vajrasana. And then I want you to think about something, because we're going to take this into our weight-bearing poses. I want you to take your right hand and grab like you're grabbing on a jar, like a big ball jar. The other hand can come underneath it. And the ball jar is a little bit stuck. So you're gonna slowly squeeze one hand in one direction and one hand in the other direction. And really use a little bit of action and force like you're trying to do that. And as you do that, can you notice what's happening in your shoulder joint? So it's subtle, but you're going to find that you're going to get a little external rotation. Okay, so let's shake that out, and we'll try the other side. So our left hand is going to grab the top, and you notice that you have to grab it with your fingers over the edge of the jar, and the right one too. And then you're just going to start to try to squeeze and open that jar. And make sure you're opening it to the left there, so you get that external rotation. So the bottom arm is kind of rotating to the right, and the top arm to the left. And you'll just notice a subtle little external rotation in the shoulder joint. Okay? And then shake that out. So this is what we're going to mirror as we're doing our weight-bearing poses. So I want you to come into hands and knees for tabletop so that your knees are just slightly behind your hips and your shoulders are right over your wrists. Grab that top of that jar and totally try to open it out. So both the hands are rotating externally away from each other. And you'll just notice that subtle shift in the shoulders. You're going to squeeze and open. One more breath. And release and sit on back. So when you're opening a jar, you want to feel all the knuckles on your hand grabbing it. You don't want to feel just the pinky side of the hand grabbing it. You want to feel all those knuckles that they can bear down and create pressure to turn. So go ahead and shake out your wrists. And this is going to be another little minor theme, or maybe it's a major theme, but another little theme in our practice today. So come back onto hands and knees. Grab that ball jar, pickle jar, whatever it is inside that you want, yogurt, whatever, coconut yogurt. Anyways, go ahead and squeeze and open that jar, but don't lose the bearing down of all the knuckles because they're creating the pressure that helps you to open it. One more breath here. And then sit on back, child's pose. Reaching those hips back, reaching the hands forward, breathing, stretching. And here I like to imagine that I'm grabbing the edge of the mat. I'm grabbing it with my fingertips. Maybe I can't reach the real edge, but I'm going to pretend. And as I grab it, I feel the engagement of my shoulders. Maybe I imagine a little of that honey jar opening. And just feel how that feels up into the shoulders. I hope it feels good to you, but make some mental notes. One more breath here. And release. Come on up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Take your cow tilt. Inhaling. Take your cat tilt. Exhaling. Cow tilt, inhaling. And cat tilt, exhaling. Do you feel that little fatigue in your arms? They already got worked. Inhaling cow. So this is going to make you really strong. A lot of infrastructure there in the hands, wrist, elbows, shoulders. One more cow and cat. Come back into cow tilt, squeeze that jar and press yourself back to squat dog. So that means the knees are bent and you're just lifting the sitting bones up, and take another breath there, finding the hands, looking at the hands, seeing if you can squeeze open the jar, and then extend the heels down if that's appropriate for you, and feel that first stretch of the day. I always like to go wide here. So this becomes a nourishing practice for me rather than immediately just going into, okay? Find the bracing of your core. And then very slowly come up to tippy toes and just step one foot forward a little bit and feel that stretch. You can soften the knee. And then step the other foot forward a little bit and feel that stretch and soften the knee. And then keep going, finding your way all the way up to the top of the mat. Maybe even being able to almost come between those strong hands or fingertips until your feet can almost walk between them. And then place the heels down and drape yourself over the strong legs. Couple more breaths there, just picking the belly up off of the thighs, creating a little bracing action there. Breathing deeply, finding that nourishing breath. All right, here's our first twist. You're going to bend your left knee and take your left hand
and just sit it on top of the foot, like right where the ankle and the foot come together. My elbow and my knee are kind of sandwiched together, and they're bent. My right leg is straight, and I'm going to keep those sandwiched together, and I'm going to open my right arm to the sky. And I'm going to work on stacking right shoulder over left shoulder. And remember that first twist we did sitting where you used your abdominals and not so much your hands? See if you can activate that. Good. And release. And bring your right hand down to the inner ankle there, the front of the ankle, and let the right knee drop into the right elbow. Take a breath there, straight, keep the left leg straight. And then you inhale and sweep up the left arm, opening and trying to stack left shoulder over right. You can use your hands a little bit, and you can use your abdominals a lot. One more breath. Let's try that first side again. So coming on down, hand around the front of the ankle, bending left knee, elbow into knee, straight right leg, open right arm. Stack, breathe, use your abdominals to help you with that twist. It's almost like you're just cleaning out and wringing out those deep places of the body. And if it works too, you can even look up as if you're trying to get a little sun on your face. And release that down. Bring your right hand to the front of the ankle, bend your right knee. Use that right elbow and right knee together, kind of sandwich that energy for stability. And open left shoulder to stack over right. Breathe into that straight left leg and use your abdominals to find your twist. One more breath. Even looking up to get a little sunlight on your face. And then exhale, reaching back down. Take a pause, bow forward, Uttanasana, strong legs all the way up into the hips. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. Let's bring our hands straight out to the side in T, and then let's bring our hands to our shoulders and roll them up and open. Make your legs strong. Bring your belly in and up. And then lifting the front of the shoulders, come all the way up to standing. When the legs get straight, maybe even open in a little back bend, opening up those shoulders. You could even take, if it fits for you, a little cactus tilt. Oh, one more breath, opening up that chest to the sky. And then inhaling, sweeping the arms up overhead. And exhaling, diving forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Bending both knees, take your right leg back to a right leg lunge. And yogi's choice, toes tucked under or untucked. Just make sure this front shin is vertical. And bring your hands onto the tops of the knees there. And remember your abdominal bracing. So press down, traction forward, pull the abdominals back. Make sure the legs are strong all the way up to the booty. So you're not trying to tuck the tailbone under, but you're trying to draw strength into each leg and each buttock. Strong abdominals. One more breath. For the last breath, let's sweep our arms up overhead. If it works for you, you can lift up and cactus tilt. Otherwise, just lengthen. Inhaling and exhaling to come back down. We're going to rock forward and back and come back into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Bowing deeply, gecko legs are strong. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees, take your left leg back to a bent knee lunge. Either tuck toes under on the back or straight. I find that if I'm on the top of my foot, I tend to release this thigh down, and I don't really like how that feels on my hip flexors. So for me, it's nice for me to have this toe tucked under, but you're gonna have to play around with that yourself and see how that feels, not only today, but over time. And then that front shin is straight up and down, so the knee is stacked right over that ankle. The hands come up, And we work our abdominal bracing and breathing. Front ribs dropping in. Legs strongly engaging all the way up into those beautiful buttocks. If it feels good to you, stay here. If you'd like a little bit different or more, you sweep your arms up overhead. And exhale, little back bend if that feels good to you. But remember, this is a nourishing practice. Inhaling deeply and exhaling, returning the hands to the floor, stepping back to plank pose. And we're going to take this into a little nourishing movement. So it goes like this. Knees go wide onto the floor. We sit on back into a tucked child's pose. We inhale up, turning the hands slightly out like you're like you're grabbing that jar. And then you let your hips come down and the heart come forward and the elbows glide back. And then you push up from here and you come back, tucking the toes into tucked child's, exhaling. So we inhale up to tabletop. You can roll through the spine, jar opening through the hands as you reach hips down and pull the elbows back. And you just go as far as feels good to you. Then you press down, tuck the toes, come on back, breathing life into the spine. Inhale like a cat curl. Exhale like a cow curl, bringing those elbows back, screwing off the lids of those jars. Inhaling, coming up. Exhaling, cat. Inhaling through cat again. And exhaling through like a cobra, but it's also a cow shape. This time you're going to come all the way down onto your tummy, rocking your legs in so that they're underneath you, resting your forehead on your hands and just taking a cleansing breath. And if you haven't already, try to bring your thighs underneath you. Then guess what? We bring our hands to our shoulders so that the fingertips drape around the front of the shoulder and the thumb around the back of the shoulder. And if you can, if you have that flexibility, try to actually grab the deltoid and the bicep there and you lift up and you come into half shalabhasana and you use those hands to keep lifting you. And you keep breathing. You might come down a little bit on the exhale and breathe and lift up that front of the shoulder on the inhale. Let there be a nice pulsation. Let's try one more lifting. And exhale, release, drop your forehead onto the hands. You can wiggle your hips left and right. Take a cleansing breath. And then we tuck our toes here, keep the forehead on the mat. You can walk your knees slightly forward and then begin to expand the booty towards the sky. Working on that lumbar curve. Lift the hips up, back, and wide. Use the legs and toes to help you. One more breath. Use your abdominals to make it go even more. And then releasing that down. Bring your hands by your chest like you're going to do cobra, which you sort of are, but you're going to remember your fingertips on the front of the shoulders, and those lift you up into like a baby cobra. And then from there, that lifting up continues to bring you up to tabletop and back to child's pose. You've got 2 breaths here to breathe and stretch and lengthen. And then we inhale up to tabletop. As you're ready, toes are tucked under. We open those honey jars wide as we look forward and cow tilt, inhaling, exhaling back to downward facing dog. And this time in our dog, we keep our right hand on that jar lid, so it's strong. The left hand reaches back behind us to reach towards our outer right calf. And it reaches back as we unscrew that jar. Little nourishing twist. And then repeat second side. So place the left hand down, screw open that jar, and reach the right hand through to the left calf, reaching. And we're just going to go back and forth like that. So switching, inhaling, exhaling, reaching. Nourishing twist. Use the whole inhale and the whole exhale. Exhaling as you reach. Really use it. Empty all your breath out. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling, reach left. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling, reaching right. Really reach. Empty the breath. We've got one more each side. Stepping and reaching. Jar. Don't forget that jar opening. Last one. Good. And then from here, standing down on two hands, take a downward facing dog. Make sure not to put pressure on your shoulders, so screw that jar, find that rotation, find your abdominal lift, and then inhale to tippy toes and walk your way slowly. See if you can get all the way to your feet. I have to come up onto my tippy fingers when I get really close, but I keep trying. When you get to where you want to be, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Big deep breath. Good. Inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana with a twist. Bring the hands to your shoulders. Lift them up and over. Add your abdominals and twist to the right. Can you use both legs to help you? Can you use your abdominals to help you? Come back to center, inhaling. Exhaling to the left. Can you use both legs to help you? Can you use your abdominals to help you? Beautiful. Come back to center. Stand down strong. Lift the front of the shoulders. Come up to standing. Extend your arms up overhead. And now you're going to do a big sweep around behind you, like a lift of the heart. And then the hands come all the way together and up into prayer. Take a cleansing breath. And just notice here how this feels in your body. How would it feel to be completely nourished? How would it feel to be completely nourished? Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, release your hands. I just don't think we can have enough of that conversation. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees. Take your left leg back to a bent knee lunge. Walk your hands up onto that front knee. We're going to move into a twist, but I want you to know this bracing action. So you're going to bring that strong action from your legs up into your booty, and you're going to bring the hands down and forward to traction and brace the front of the body. Then you take your left elbow to the right knee and stack your hands in a prayer. So you use your hands at first, get a little twist, and then you release the hands a bit and you take the twist through the belly. Press the hands and find a little twist. Release the hands and twist through the belly. One more. Use the hands, press in a twist. Use the belly and press in a twist. Beautiful. Release gently. Take your hands to the floor. Lift up your left thigh. Lift it, lift it, lift it until you feel your front knee over the front ankle and your left thigh as high as you can to the sky until you feel both buttocks really, really engage. The left hand stays on the floor, tippy fingers on that jar lid, and as you twist it open, you open your right arm to the sky. Use your hands at first and then use your belly second. Hands at first, belly second. And release that on down. Rock it forward and back. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Take a minute just to notice this dramatic difference between the left side of your body and the right side of your body. Another breath there, nourishing breath. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees. Take your right leg back to a bent knee lunge. Back knee on the floor. And take a moment to walk up onto your front knee and find your abdominal bracing, pressing down and back and forward and back. So there's this equal and opposing action, that isometric action. And then from the feet, gather the energy of the legs until you feel it all the way into both buttocks. If this feels good to you, you can stay. If you want to add a little fly and extension overhead, or even a little cactus, little back bend, and then come on forward and bring your right elbow to your left knee in a twist. You're going to bring your hands into prayer. Then at first you use your hands to twist yourself, but then you gather your abdominals to create more infrastructure. So the hands push to help you, and then the infrastructure inside goes. Press, and then use your abdominals. Beautiful. And then come on back to center. Release your hands to the floor. Reach your right leg up into the sky, making sure the front shin is vertical, and then keep lifting and lift and lift and lift until you feel those buttocks inflate. You feel just really strong and active muscle energy. The right hand stays on the floor. Fingertips grab that jar to open it up as you open to the sky and the twist. One more breath here. Stacking the shoulders, using your abdominals, and then release it back. Step on back to plank pose. In plank pose, you're going to grab those jars and you're going to open them up and just use your abdominals and your legs to help. Then drop your knees to the floor. Sit on back in a tuck-toed child. And then inhale, roll up through cat tilt. We're going to take our cobra cow, moving forward and down. And you just go as far as you can and that feels good to you. And then you press back up, tuck the toes, reaching on back to child's pose, tuck toe style. And then you roll up through the spine. Looking forward, find your reverse cobra. Arms screw, or hands screw on those jar lids. This time we're going to come all the way down. And then you're just going to roll to the right and look to the left. And roll to the left and look to the right. And see if you can come up a little bit the next time. But maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe that's hard on your shoulders. And you just do a little nourishing, rocking. And then come on down and rest your forehead on your stacked hands. Bend your knees and take your feet to the left and take your feet to the right. And it's like reverse windshield wiper pose. Getting that deep, nourishing, twisting sensation lower in the spine. Getting it right in through the waistlines. Come back up to center. Keep your feet, your legs bent like that and your feet flexed. And then you just use your arms and you kind of wiggle your ribs forward a little bit to give you a little more space in the rib cage. And then you're going to reach your hands behind you. You're not going to grab your feet, but you're going to try to lift up the front of the shoulders and lift up here and breathe. Each in-breath, we imagine our fingertips on the front of those shoulders lifting up and over. Try not to crunch the back of the neck, but keep lifting the shoulders up. We've got one more breath. Beautiful. Release that back down. Hands by the chest like a cobra. Lift up the front of the shoulders for baby cobra. And then from there we weight bear. And we come back to child's pose. From here, we come back up to tabletop. And listen carefully, it's not that difficult, but it gets confusing because it's got angles and twists and turns. But you swing both feet to the right. So they're crossing across the long edge of the mat. The right hand, it screws into that jar. So there it goes. And the left leg then stretches straight out. And ideally you're on the mat. I went a little bit far, so I'm going to scoot up a little bit. And then you open your left arm to the sky. Now when you get there, you have a choice, yogi's choice. You can stay there and remember your abdominal action to open the twist. You can also take the left foot and reach it towards the back edge of the mat for a little extra twist. And then you open up and you see if you can look up to get a little sunlight on your face. Don't forget your bottom arm. It's screwing the lid off of the jar. And the left shoulder is rotating up and over like you got your fingertips on it. And then take that arm up overhead, reaching in line, feeling that left foot pressing on the floor, reaching through that whole left side. And then gently release that down till you come to tabletop. Cleansing breath. You can do a cow tilt here. You can do a cat tilt here. And then tabletop. We swing both legs to the left. Yeah, so they're crossed across that long edge of the mat. The left hand, it turns out slightly and it screws that jar off to the left. The right leg stretches out to the edge of the mat and we open up the right arm to the sky. Now take a moment to make sure you've got those actions, as clarity of those actions. So this is a super nourishing practice. So the left hand screws off that jar. You open and you imagine that the top arm has your fingertips on it to lift it up and over. It's almost like a little mini wild thing. We're prepping for that. One more breath. If you can look up to the sky and lift your heart to the sun. And then exhale the arm up overhead, reach long. Beautiful breath through that whole right side of the body. And then release that. Bring both hands to the floor. Inhale, look up for a cow tilt. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Take a cleansing breath. Bring your feet a little closer here so they're touching or almost touching. Make your left leg strong. The knee can be soft. And I want you to try to drive that heel into the floor. And then let's switch. So you make your right leg strong, the heel to the floor, left leg can bend, and you reach and drive that heel down to get that whole stretch on the back of the leg. And then coming back to center, both legs reaching, you inhale your right leg to the sky. Come up to tippy toes, and we're going to swing it through. So bend the standing leg, use your abdominals, and swing it through to a lunge. And just because we want to be equal, we're going to try that on both sides. So stepping back to downward facing dog. Take your time to try this. Even if you just get it halfway up, that's okay if you never step on it. Inhale, left leg up to the sky. Tippy toe on the right leg. Bend the knee, use your abdominals, and swing it through. Beautiful job. Rock it forward and back. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. All right, from here, you're going to frame your mat here. So your hands are out at the edges of the mat. They're on the mat, so you look like a triangle. The left leg is going to wander a little bit more towards the center of the mat. And the right leg is going to swing behind you, flexing the heel, and it's parallel to the floor. And just take a breath there. This might be enough for you. See if you can square the hips. See if you can find your abdominal bracing. Now you can place your right hand on a block or on the floor, And you're gonna keep that abdominal bracing and that back leg super strong. You're gonna see if you can open your left arm to the sky. One more breath, super challenging twist. And release that down and take your Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Plant your hands wide on the sticky mat. Migrate your right foot towards the center of the mat. Inhale your left leg out behind you so it's parallel to the floor and both hip points are pointed down. Think of your abdominal bracing. Don't just think about it, but do it. The left hand can come to a block or not, and the right hand opens into a twist. You got to use those abdominal muscles to help you. Because here it's harder to use your hands. You can use your hands a little, but the abdominals have to do it. One more breath. All right, reach that back down. Uttanasana. Inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. Hands to the fronts of your shoulders, abdominals strong as you lift up. On the next inhale, come on up. Let's take that into a little cactus tilt or just a lift up and over. One more breath. And then come on up, sweep your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers except for your pointer finger and stretch up. Bring your frontal abdominals in. And exhale, release. Bring your hands down to prayer. Take a nourishing breath. One more just like that. Beautiful. We're going to pause in our Surya and take a little standing pose, a little balancing pose with a twist. So if you need a chair or a wall, please feel free to do that. Otherwise, you can try it along with me. So we're going to be standing on our right leg and lifting the left. I come to tippy toes first. I'll inhale my arms out to the side. Exhale, bring that knee into the chest. Take a moment to notice how square you are, how soft, and see how you could even find a nourishing breath in this pose. Now there's lots of choices. We're going to start with the easiest one. You reach that right arm around to the front of the knee and over to the side, and the other arm starts to stretch behind you. And you've got to find the rooting of the standing leg, and you've got to find the abdominals. And you try to reach and maybe even look over that back arm. Lengthening through the spine and using your abdominals to twist. One more breath. Beautiful. Release that. Take a cleansing breath. Second side. Inhaling out to the side. Exhaling, bringing right knee into the chest. Pause to feel the squareness, the balance of the pose. And you could stop here. That's enough. Just make sure the standing knee is soft so you can really feel that anchor. The left hand reaches around the front of the kneecap and the right arm behind you. Use your abdominals. Lift up. Brace, twist. If you can, you're going to try to look back at that back hand. One more breath. Inhale to come out of the pose. Step it on down. Fly your arms up overhead. Exhale, bow forward. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. If you had to move to the side of the mat, move back to the front of the mat. Take a cleansing breath. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step your right leg back to, it's like a Parsvottanasana. So it's halfway back, it's a hamstring stretch. And The heels are not in the same line, so you're not on a balance beam anymore. You could be on 2 balance beams. And you think of your legs as the same as you did with your hands, or you think of your feet. So you think of jar opening. So with those feet, they grab the mat, and you swing yourself till that right hip comes forward a little bit. Then you breathe here, inhaling, lengthening the spine. It's the strong legs, that squeezing action of the legs that helps extend the spine. And as you exhale, you can bow forward. One more breath there. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale, the feet get strong like they're unscrewing jar lids, and you bow forward. Inhale, bend that front knee as you come forward. You're just going to take your hands and swing them back so they're pointing to the back hip, and then use your abdominals to lift up that front leg. Begin to look forward, roll the shoulders back, push yourself back up to standing. Take a cleansing breath. And then you're going to bring that right foot forward. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, soften the knees. Take your left leg back to Parsvottanasana. So both feet are off of the balance beam. Both knees are soft. You use those feet like they're screwing off the lid of the jar, so they're gecko feet, until that left hip drops forward a little bit. And so that the right hip draws back, the left hip draws forward, the belly lifts off the thighs as you inhale, lengthen, and exhale as you bow. Inhale as you lengthen the spine. Exhale as you bow. Beautiful. From here, inhale forward, bend the front knee, sweep your arms back, pull the abdominals off, roll the shoulders up, and push yourself up to standing. Rock it forward, step it forward, and take a pause, hands in prayer. What would it feel like to be completely nourished, or how would it feel? We're nourishing the body through these long holds and stretches and twists. Squeezing action into the muscles helps them flush out tension and toxins and unneeded waste. And release the hands and open your eyes and come back to a balancing pose. So we're going to repeat the same pose. Here's the option that you have, and I'm just going to do a little demo so that I clarify a few things. So I'll do it to the side. So we're going to be doing, we've done this pose a lot on the ground, Supta Padangusthasana, hand to big toe pose. This one we're doing standing. So we're standing on our left leg, and if you reach, I like to grab it with my right hand and then reach across with my left. Now if you just want to do what we did before, then it's like you stand down on the hand that's holding the foot. So there's a lot of action, it like causes that abdominal bracing. And then you make sure you don't do this. So this is what a lot of people do. They reach back, they reach up, and you know, some of us can kind of fake it and do it, but it's not really that pretty, and it's not really all that good for changing the shape and structure of our body. So we look forward, we try to square off those hips, keep the hips moving back in space as that leg straightens, and then we use the abdominals to twist. Oh, and you'll get a really good, and I'm trying to lengthen up through the spine and use the abdominals to twist me open. All right, shall we try together? Here we go. Let's nourish ourselves deeply with this big, crazy, amazing twist. So we're going to start standing on our left leg, inhaling deeply. We'll bring the right knee to the chest. And remember, you can stop anywhere along this journey. This may be enough for you. So I like to hold the knee with my same hand and reach across with my opposite hand so that if I stop here, I can step down on that strong hand and feel the action of my legs. If it's good, I start to draw the hips back as that foot reaches forward in space. And then remember those abdominals. We lift up, we use the abdominals, and we turn. It's like abdominal bracing. Keep trying to bring those hips back in space. Keep trying to twist that belly and that back rib back. Last breath. And then come gently forward. Release it gently and all the way down and shake it out. Whew. Challenging, challenging pose. Okay, here we go, second side. So we're standing on the right leg, lifting the left. Inhale deeply. Exhale, grab that knee, hold it, stop here if that's enough for you. Here would be the next stage to reach across and then root that foot, like press it down and the hand pulls back. That'll cause that abdominal bracing. Then the hips go back as the foot goes forward to make sure that we're not rounding the back, we're keeping that lumbar curve. And then you use the abdominals to lift up, to brace, and to twist. This is a fairly advanced pose, so you just do what you can do, and you feel that deep, twisting, nourishment action, and then release that. Wow. Come back to the front of the mat. Sweep your arms up overhead. Inhale. Uttanasana is going to feel like a resting pose. So just bow forward here, softening your knees, lifting and bracing through the abdominals. Let the head hang. Say no. Shake the head no. Shake the head yes. A couple more breaths here. Feel that soothing, nourishing breath. Listen to it in your body. See if your forward bend feels a little easier after those hamstring lengtheners and those twists. Last breath. Beautiful. Bend the knees. Lift the heels off the floor and come on down into a squat. So this next squat is not for everybody. So I'm going to give you some choices. So you can either just go into a squat and try to hug the legs, and you can lift the abdominals off the legs but try to curl around into a little ball. That would be choice number one, and just breathe there. Choice number two would be to bring your knees out to the side and bring your arms into the inside. And then the same thing, you're going to squeeze the knees into your upper arm bones, and you're going to roll forward and pull the abdomen off of the thighs. Choice three would be to stay here, but to take your hands and reach them underneath your heels. And then you try to sit down on your hands and you try to drop your forehead to the earth and the tail to the earth. You use your belly and you pick up your abdominals. And you breathe. Super nourishing to the spine. One more breath. From there, any way that you can, you're going to try to sit on back onto your booty, and we're going to roll on down to our backs and practice a couple back bends. So roll yourself down slowly so you got that good abdominal bracing. And I hope you found that that was a little easier than it normally does because all the prep we did. Interlace your hands overhead, stretch. You can point your toes so you feel this long front body stretch. One more breath. All right, bend your knees for Satubandha Sarvangasana. Knees are bent, feet flat on the floor. You're making sure that your knees are somewhat close to each other. They're not going to want to rock out to the sides. And then just tickle your heels behind your hands. If you can, grab your heels. And that's not going to be for everybody, but if you can reach your heels, I want you to pinch them between your thumb and your forefinger. And you're going to pinch that and you're going to lift up your heart. So you pinch and you lift. And the back of the head lays on the floor. Now if you can't reach the hands to the heels, you're just going to have them down by the side. You're going to dig the elbows in and lift the heart up. So it's like baby fish. But there's something kind of nice about creating that link between heels and shoulders and lifting up against that boundary. And then release that. Take a cleansing breath. Go ahead and press down into your feet. Lift your hips up off the floor. If you can touch your heels, stay there. If you want, you can also rock your shoulders underneath you and interlace your fingers. But if you can grab the heels, it's a little bit difficult, but try to grab them with the thumb and forefinger and lift up your spine to the sky. So you create this little boundary that you work against. One more breath. And now release that. Interlace your hands, rock your shoulders underneath you. Think about those jar lids even here. So there's this action that helps to expand the chest. Press through your feet and lift up the spine. One more breath. Keep the lift. Drop your hips just a little bit, but keep your hips up and drape your right ankle over your left knee. And then once again, press down and lift up. Let's try that second side. Standing down on that right foot, draping the left ankle over your right knee, pressing down through your forearms, your shoulders, and your foot. Press and lift. And then release all the way down. Unravel that pose. Take a cleansing breath. Take your arms out to the side. Let yourself rest for a moment and feel the nourishment of that practice, of that squeezing of the muscles around the bones. And bring your knees up into your chest, flex your feet. You know what, I just had an idea that I want to follow through on. Grab a block for this next one. Sorry about that, I should have warned you. And place that block in between your knees. Just really helps to have something to squeeze you to the midline. You're going to drop the knees over to the left as if you're trying to touch your left elbow, but then you're going to drive through the right arm and try to bring the right shoulder onto the floor. And you can take your hands and tap your shoulders, remind them for a moment about that external rotation. And then see if you can really squeeze that block, squeeze those knees to the elbows. Reach through the right shoulder so it can drop on the floor. One more breath. And exhale, belly to spine. Come back to center, cleansing breath. Good, second side, squeeze the block. Take your knees towards the right elbow, like really try to almost get them touching. And then drive through the left arm, really drive through it so you try to get that shoulder to the floor. You can bring your fingertips to the front of the shoulders for a moment just to remember that up and over. And then you squeeze and twist. One more breath. Exhale, strong belly to the spine. Come back up. Now the choice is to do that again, or here's a little more advanced. And this isn't for people who have low back issues. You probably want to keep the knees bent. But for those who don't have low back issues, you put the block between your shins. Here we go. Same thing for those of you who want, or if you want to take it a step farther, you squeeze that block and start to take your knees towards your left elbow. Drive through the right arm. Squeeze and twist. And then press the belly back and swing the legs up. Woo, that's good abdominal work. Okay, let's try second side. So either the first choice, knees bent if your back is tender, or if you're a little stronger and more capable, then you press the shin around that block and you take the block towards your right elbow. This is called Jatara Parivartanasana. Drive through the left arm, squeeze. One more breath. Exhale through the belly and come all the way up. Release the block. Release your knees out to the side. Take a cleansing breath. Gentle supported back bend. We bring the knees up. We slip that block underneath our hips, and it can either be at the lowest level, or if you want a little more challenge, you bring it up to the second level. And there might be a few of you who could bring it up to the top level. But because this is a nourishing practice today, I'm going to keep mine at the second level and just enjoy a sweet, supportive opening. I'm going to take my hands out in T, and as best I can, I'm going to rest my hips onto the block so they get really heavy. And for the next few breaths, I just work on letting go, letting those hips get heavier and heavier, and letting the block do the work of the back bending so that I can just start to rest. Moving into the quieting portion of our practice. If you're up on that upper deck of the block, bring it down to the middle deck. If you're on the middle deck, bring it down to the lower deck. If you're on the lower deck, bring it down to the floor and prep yourself for Shavasana. Those of us who are on upper deck's going to take a couple more breaths here before we move to that lower place where the hips are on the floor. Just letting the body adjust gently. Let your legs fall out to the side and go towards straight. Let the hands be out in T. Remember those fingertips on the fronts of the shoulders. See if you can feel those falling up and over. How would you feel if you were completely nourished? How would it feel to be completely nourished? How would it feel to be completely nourished? Let those words sink into the tissues of your body as you lie here completely relaxed and working on letting go. Let the breath come into spaces that feel like they need nourishment. Letting the breath guide you deeper and deeper into relaxation. Deeper and deeper into letting go. Letting the mind rest into this deeply nourished place. Imagine that the breath is like honey or something that you love really sweet. You could imagine a gold liquid coming into your body, or a color of your choice. Maybe it's a aquamarine or another beloved color. Imagine that breath, that honey, that gold, that color is just nourishing everything it comes into contact with. It's like the deepest food you could imagine. Food for the soul. Deepen your breath. Let that breath, that deeper breath, seep into your tissues, creating nourishment, expansion, space, love. And as you're ready, move that into a gentle but meaningful and mindful stretch. And as you're ready, roll to your side, look down at your hands, find your way gently up to sitting. We'll meet in Sukhasana, hands in prayer. Eyes soften down, drop down to the back of the skull. The throat is over the heart is over the pelvis. Feeling into this mind-body connect that is so profound and reminds us that all things are connected. And let that nourish you. We'll seal that with a breath and an Om together. Inhaling deeply. We give thanks for this practice. I give thanks for you and for the teachers who've brought us to this moment. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practices with me. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.